All right, our next prospect is DeWayne McBride. UAB running back, 5'10", 209, 9.5-inch hands. He's only 21 years old. So what a refreshing breath of
He'll be 22.
He'll be 22 in July.
Fine, though.
Yes.
Ain't no problem.
There was no combine numbers. He had a tweaked hamstring. The pro day also held him out of the stuff with the same hamstring. Last year in 12 games, he had 233 rushing attempts, 1,713 yards, 19 touchdowns. Only 2 receptions for 10 yards and no touchdowns there in the passing game.
So McBride was one of the last guys that I had watched of the main names.
Yep.
And initially, I just peek behind the curtain. I make these lists, and I make these lists that we're going to do on the show back in January, early January, just kind of what I know about the players, how their stock is trending roughly. And this was a guy that I didn't know a ton about. And I knew a couple people that were like, oh yeah, he's good. But there's also a couple people that say like, oh yeah, Chris Rodriguez is good. Like, so you never really know like how good is this guy.
Right.
I walked away really, really impressed with McBride. Now, I'll say that in the sense of he is a very specific role. This is not a 3-down back because his scores for me are fascinating because there's a lot of really high scores and there's a lot of really low scores. Mm-hmm. Whereas normally like they normalize a little bit, his are like, I mean, if it was a graph, it would be like this, the whole way down. So
YouTube.
I think he struggles with his vision a little bit. I don't think he has great vision, but he has the highest contact balance in the class. Like that's above Bijan. That's above, like he has the best contact balance in the class. Really? Extremely physical runner. Mm-hmm. Like will run through your face and think nothing of it.
To the face.
Really nice power.
Yeah.
Really nice
power. Love his contact balance.
And he doesn't lose a lot of speed when he does it too. Like he's very efficient when he runs the football, but slightly subpar average. Not terrible, but it is subpar.
What is subpar?
His vision.
Vision. Okay.
Yep. Is subpar.
I thought it was good.
There were a lot of holes that I saw he missed. He actually has better vision at the second level than he does at the first level. From my notes.
Okay.
Fair. That's fair.
I think once he gets that open field, he has a much better concept of what's going on. I think sometimes he misses holes, but I think he's such a physical runner that sometimes I just don't think he cares. That he'll just run through people.
I think he does a good job of getting small sometimes in the hole too.
Which
is for a guy that's nearly 210 pounds. I think he does a good job navigating that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I can't really put my finger. I think he's definitely got really good contact balance. He's always falling forward.
Always.
And sometimes he's not falling at all. He's taking hits and he
just keeps going.
He just keeps going. So that I can totally see why you have him rated the highest in the class for that kind of attribute. I think he's fast enough, right? Like he does not have he doesn't have a top
him
gear.
Slightly below average speed. Yep.
Yeah. And I think he's got pretty good burst. You know what I mean? So that I think talks a little bit to what you were saying with when you said like he doesn't really slow down, you know, cutting and all that kind of stuff or taking hits. Like he's able to keep his feet and kind of keep his momentum and speed. So all that kind of I think meshes together and kind of paints a picture of a guy that he can beat you in multiple ways, right? Like he can beat you with power if he makes you like a slight juke because he's not laterally really explosive. You know what I mean?
Nope.
So he'll put a
way.
slight move on you and combine that with the fact that he can power through some stuff. And if you do just get a piece of him, it's not going to take him down. He's going to be able to keep on moving and stuff like that. So it's starting to paint a picture of a guy that can be effective in the NFL. And so I really like a lot of his attributes. You know, he's never going to be a home run guy, and he's never going to catch passes. He didn't really do that.
There's two big holes. I was hoping, Rich, or you would cover them. There's two big, massive holes in this game.
So watching DeWayne McBride's tape, I was like, I found him. I found my gem. I found my hidden gem of this draft class. The guy will have it in every one of my drafts. I love him. I really enjoyed his tape. Like as I'm watching him, like early in the process, I'm like, I found a guy who's going to join that third tier. It's going to be a sneaky guy. Like when I put this on Twitter, people are going to be like, ooh. People are going to tweet at me.
Oh, man.
People are going to tweet at me, emoji eyes, looking to the left, you know?
Looking to the left.
Because I really, like you mentioned, a lot of good stuff. Like I like some of his stuff that you guys didn't like as much. Like I thought his vision was okay. I thought he had good stop ability. For his size, I thought his hips were pretty loose. I thought his lateral movement was okay there. I really like his production, right? Like this is somebody who ran for at least 120 yards in all of his games, but one. So, and that what really impressive about that is he had 7.3 yards per carry average. He was the focal point of UAB's offense. He saw the most 8 men in the box out of all the running backs in his class because they were focused on him because he was UAB's offense. When they had 8 men in the box, he still averaged 5.9 yards per carry. Still. And he was the focal point of the offense. So I really like that. The power, the contact balance.
The one question I have, the one game where he did his worst, LSU, right? That was the game where it was 13 rushes, 34 yards.
He still had a couple like watching that game because I did watch that one.
Mm-hmm.
He still had a couple plays where I was like, dang, that was a nice run.
Yeah, for sure.
There were some bad ones and he got stuffed at the line a lot,
Yes.
but there were some still that were
that
impressive.
and his pass pro. I mentioned the lack of catching passes, but his pass pro was suspect. I saw him get tossed on his butt once.
I'm surprised no one the other big hole. There's one other big hole.
I haven't named any big holes.
Okay,
So
because there's another big one that somebody better mention.
The minor hole is his top end speed and burst.
Yep.
Right. That's a minor hole because he did enough of it where he's still, like you said, he'd stop, he'd get hit, he'd go under a defender, and then run and still do a really good job.
He'd gain 20 yards. He'd eventually get
Caught. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's in the college game too.
So the biggest downfall here, again, from fantasy football aspect, and this is a massive one, definitely in today's game, is 2 massive holes. One, he doesn't offer anything in the passing game. He has 5 career catches. 5. Now, for most people, you count that on one hand.
Yes.
Most people.
Correct. Garrett.
Yes.
Sorry.
Another one, his ball security.
Yes, that was the other one.
Yes, I forgot about the amount of
He had
fumbles.
5
Fumbles so
fumbles out of 233 carries. So it's like 12% or something along those lines. It's not.
It's an alarming.
10%.
It's
It's less than that.
That's not that much.
It's not that much. But that was concerning. So, again, we're talking about this from a fantasy football perspective. If he offers nothing in the passing game, you're talking about a guy that's going to get you, if he doesn't score a touchdown, 6 to 8 points per game. That's what he is. Mm-hmm. He's for sure going to find himself on an NFL roster. Like, he just looks too good not to find himself on an NFL roster. If somehow they can work with him to turn him into a pass catcher running back, there is a path here for DeWayne McBride to be a starting running back in the NFL. There is. Like, he could be a starting running back in the NFL. He's coming from UAB. If somebody can work with him, mold him, there's a path there. I really enjoyed watching his tape. I have him in my 5th tier. He's a player that I like. When I'm watching, after I got through all these other running backs, I felt way more comfortable with DeWayne McBride than I did in the end. And just like Garrett, like, he's one of the last running backs I watched too. So, like, I had a good grasp of what I've getting into already compared to the rest of the guys. I'm like, okay, this is a guy that excites me. When you watch his tape, like, he's excited, right? Like, he has it. Like, he's a running back. Like, he's a true running back. He's just he's limited in the spots that, when from a fantasy aspect, you don't want to be limited. No catches, and he has fumbling problems. The fumbling problem can be a huge problem because if you fumble at NFL level, you're not going to get opportunity to be on the field. No. So he's got to clean that up. And now it can be done. You know, we've seen it done. I mean, there's running backs like that, like Tiki Barber, huge fumbling problems. Fixed it, went on to a Hall of Fame career, essentially. So
Peterson had trouble fumbling the football a lot, too.
He did early. So DeWayne McBride, he's somebody I came away with very pleasantly surprised. I like the prospect. Something
I want to mention real quick. I'm going to use this both for this guy and another guy. But there was an awesome chart that Arjun Menon put out, and Dan Toomey tagged me in it, talking about a different player. But I found McBride stats on here too, which were crazy impressive. So in this draft class, on runs that were, and this is according to PFF, runs that were blocked perfectly, he had the most yards per carry in the class. On plays that were not blocked perfectly, he had the second most yards in the class. So he is making it happen basically either way. Like he is making it happen. So that's what you love to see out of a first and second down running back. Are those guys as appealing for fantasy football as guys that can also catch passes? No, but I do think that there's a role for him, and he could be a touchdown monster at the next level.
I could definitely see that. I think his ability to get small at the line of scrimmage but still maintain power, I think it would suit him well down towards the goal line. And I mean, he did it in college, 19 touchdowns this past season and 13 the year before. So he's shown that he can be that kind of guy. Where do you guys see him as far as NFL draft pedigree?
I'm really because his tape is so. I like his tape so much. I'm so intrigued. If an NFL team falls in love with him, like kind of like I did. You know what I mean? Because if I was a scout for an NFL team, I would bring this to my GM like, this is a player we should add to the roster because there's upside there. Like if I was a Browns coach, I'm like, I think we have Nick Chubb, for example, like Browns. Like we have Nick Chubb. He doesn't catch a lot of footballs. He's 27 years old. This is the last year of his guaranteed money. We have Stump Mitchell. He's a good running back coach. I think if this is a guy we could bring in, we could probably get him in like the 5th round. We bring him in. We set him behind Nick Chubb. 2 years. This guy could be our starter running back, and we use Jerome Ford as our patch guy running back. That's the kind of like fit I could see him fall into.
And that's where I have him. I'm like, I think because he is limited in a few areas, he might be one of these guys that ends up in this 5th to 7th round range. And the fact that there's so many guys, there's just so many bodies this year. A guy like this could fall through the cracks a little bit, playing from a smaller school and being somewhat limited in the passing game. So I guess I wouldn't be shocked if he lands in that kind of range. And for me, I'm okay with that because we've seen guys emerge from that range, even undrafted free agents that probably had, I think, less skills than him. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely. He ended up with a 72.25 for me. Wow. So he got a good score. He hit above that 72 threshold, which we've kind of seen be that line of if you're under a 72, it's pretty spotty. If you're under a 68, it's like almost no chance of hitting. So he's definitely in that range of guys that I could see hitting at the next level. And something else that, you talked about, Lance Zierlein's kind of like your guy. Daniel Jeremiah is my guy. Like, I really trust a lot of things he says. He has him as his RB5. Now, that's more steep than I'm willing to put, but that was good to see that he is a guy that he believes in.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and I put a 5th to 7th round expectation kind of in my own head. If it's something 3rd to 4th round, I mean, then
it changes things a lot.
Then it changes things a lot because now he's got pedigree, draft pedigree, NFL draft pedigree behind that, and he might start rising up my board a little bit as well.
Yeah, he's my sneaky guy. He's like when I got done watching this tape, I'm like, this is a guy I'm gonna snatch up in the 3rd round of every draft I'm in, whether it be like 3-3 or 3-12. Like this is a guy I want to get in my roster. And I have it down here written, like, I'm really intrigued to where he goes in the NFL draft.
It is going to be interesting.
And because even if like I said, if he goes in the 5th, 6th round, like, that doesn't bother me for his playing style. If he goes higher, obviously, he then gets bumped in my rankings as well. So, like, I will adjust from that standpoint where he goes from being like, a sneaky guy and getting a 3rd round I feel really good about, like right after those tight ends all go, that tight end run, I can get DeWayne McBride, to, okay, I got to take DeWayne McBride before the tight ends and then see what tight end falls.
Make sure you get him.
So he's one of those players, when I said the NFL draft will sharpen my sword to see how I cut this, he's the guy that I could either get as a sneaky guy, but I'm going to get, or he could be the guy that gets pushed up my rankings.
The ninja over here talking about sharpening sword.
Get back in. When you see my wife when you go upstairs, just go up to she's like, PTSD.
She'll be ready for it this time.
She will be.
Double block.
She's been training.
Too quick. So I'm glad we're all
on board.
There.
Yeah, usually when there's a sneaky guy and all of us like him, it turns out to be like Khalil Herbert. So that's good, right?
That's good news.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually not bad.
So our next prospect,
last guy
of the show,
unless you're a nerd member, underdog, $10 full year.